So welcome back everyone to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan here for today. What can I say? You know, we're starting up the week in the most epic badass way because we have on the show the incredible, the amazing, the badass, the superstar, the legendary, the one and only Iris. Iris, how are you today?
I'm good, Dan. Thanks so much. How are you?
Fantastic. I mean, what better way to have an incredible super startup of the week than to be chatting with someone as badass as you? You know what I mean?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
There
Really
you
do.
go. Of course. Now, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow. It helps a lot. But also, on the description below, you're going to find a lot of Iris social media. Let's follow her and let's find out why she's super badass. Now, without further more, let's jump in. So I want to start this whole epic conversation by throwing out the first question, which is, what was the moment that hit you? Like, this is it. This is what I'm meant to do. This is my passion now. Like, when did that happen?
I feel like for a lot of people, it happens like early in childhood. I was about 24, I think, 20, 22, 24. I can't remember exactly, somewhere in there, I've been grown up. When I watched for the first time Breakfast at Tiffany's, and it just stole my heart. This is still one of my favorite movies. I think for me, I feel like a lot of people were like relating to the story, like, everybody was looking for this big love and everything. And personally, for me, it was just like I looked at Audrey and I respect all of her work. I think she's a kick-ass actress, or was. And I thought to myself, I just want to be like her because she just dissolves in the character. Like, it's it's a it's a person. You can't really detect any, like, with a lot of actors still, you can tell, like, there's some moments where you can tell, like, they're pushing it a little bit, like, oh, that's a little bit of acting coming out. With her, it's like, it's always you get a real person. I don't know how the hell she does it, but that's what drove me in. And I was like, I don't want to be like in my boring, 9 to 6 job, like doing, all the office cluggity clue things. I want to be on a screen. I want to be like her, I want to be badass in that sense of the word. So that was my moment. And I think I was 20, 22, 24. I can't remember exactly. It was somewhere there. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. So for me, it started a little later. But yeah, I'm still trying.
There you
Going
go.
at it.
And you make it happen. So, you know what? That's pretty cool. That is
Thank you.
amazing. That is amazing. And tell me, what were some of those first challenges, let's say, when you were kind of taking it into a more serious career?
Well, it's like, I think it's a chicken and egg kind of situation where it's like with a lot of jobs, and acting is a job too, right? So with a lot of jobs we're having, it's like you got to have experience to get a job, but yet you're not having experience, right? But you got to prove that you do. So in acting world, it's like, having a demo reel. And back in the day, like, granted, now we can film whatever we want on the phones, and but I'm gonna date myself right now a little bit. Back in the days when I started out, it wasn't a thing. So you either have it or you don't. But in order to have a job, right, you gotta prove that you worked before. So it was just trying to figure out how I can get around it, right, to prove that I know I can do it, but I don't have anything to show for it yet. No credits, no footage, so to say. And I think right now we are so blessed in a way. I mean, it's a curse and a blessing, technology, right? So it's like, I'm sure some people can disagree with me, but I feel like it's curse and a blessing, but in blessing in a way that you can just pick up the camera and go and shoot whatever you want, right? So you have that proof that you can do it on tape. So you don't need big studios to hire you and stuff. So, but back in the day, it was not a thing. So I think for me, the most challenging part, and I feel like for a lot of probably people, really getting that first job. And once you got that, you're like, okay, I have something, So that was my moment there. Starting out is never easy, but also I feel like the more body of work you're having, the more pressure it adds, because now people have certain expectations, right? and they're watching your, like, oh, now you booked this TV show, so what's next kind of thing. It's an interesting and fascinating thing to be figuring out the journey. So at the end of the day, acting job is a job just like any other job, except for it is not, right? For a variety of reasons, so to say. But it does have the basic structure of that. It's still a business, and you still have to prove that you can do it because people are betting a lot of money on you and your performance and all that stuff. So that being said, I think, yeah, getting your first few gigs, jobs, whatever you want to call it, was the most challenging part. And once you kind of prove that you can do that, then people, start telling others that, okay, she's good, you can hire her. So that was my journey with that.
And do you still remember the feeling of your first audition?
Oh, well, again, I'm gonna date myself. Back in the day, we used to have in-person auditions, and I don't know if you're aware of it. You probably are, because you talk to so many different creatives and actors. So a lot of it is self-tapes right now. We don't see people in the rooms, right? We don't have to be there, which is, again, it's there are some good things that came with social media and Zoom and all the other things and technology, and then there are some things that you still miss, like that interaction, person to person kind of thing in the room. So back in the day, I remember one of the auditions where I came into the room. I swear to God, it was commercial for one of the insurances. I'm not gonna lie, because I don't remember exactly the name of it. It was a while back. And it was 15 people in the room, 15 staring at me. I've never felt so naked in my entire life. I thought they were scanning me, and those were the ad agencies, the client, like, everybody, directors, everybody, 15 people, I counted them. And I mumbled my name, and then, they said, well, now you go. And so I did my thing. I don't remember how, because I was so terrified. It's almost like now they all waiting for me to fail, right? That feeling. So they gave me an adjustment, and I completely forgot all the dialogue I was supposed to say on the second take. I just went blank. And so I started improvising. I have no idea what I said. If you ask me, I wouldn't be able to, duplicate it now. But I, left feeling crashed. You just build from there, because the next time I came into the room, I'm like, I will never let that happen to me. You know what I mean? So I need to work on myself, because you usually get used to one or two people in the room, but when it's 15, and they all staring at you. So that's a different feeling and all that stuff. But I never had that audition, like that experience in audition rooms after that, because I had to work even harder at it to avoid those like embarrassing moments, so to say. So, but yeah, it happens, we all humans. And I was terrified. I remember I was terrified at that one. It was probably the worst audition I've ever done. Like, I usually remember more or less what I did, but not with that one.
Totally. I mean, it's just part of the whole experience, So I can
Yeah.
understand. In rejection, can hit hard, right? I mean, nobody likes being rejected. So, like, how you stay focused, let's say, how you stay focused or perhaps motivated when you had this audition and
Mhm.
you didn't get the call back, basically.
So that requires a lot of work outside of acting and all this stuff, because you have to remind yourself, besides being an actor, I'm a human being, right? What else can I focus on? I think focusing on that, you also have to be able to focus on other things in your life. So then it's not just the main focus, you know what I mean? Because let's say you got an audition and then you're so focused on that, and then you're waiting for that phone to ring, and it doesn't, and it doesn't, and it doesn't, right? It does something to you. But when you have some other things in life, right? I love going to, shows. I love going to the galleries. I love spending time with my friends and doing some other stuff that take my mind off of the other things, So that way I'm still focused on it. I work on the craft. I do my part. I memorize, I prepare, and then I let it go, and I focus on other things, be it a hike, be it a yoga class, be it just a coffee with my friend and just chatting about something random, you know what I mean? Because there is so much more to you as a human being, right, than just that one thing. And at the end of the day, a lot of the times, like I mentioned before. It could be just really nothing to do with you and what you did. It's out of your hands. It could be a lot of other reasons why you weren't picked. Statistically speaking, if we say on the average, let's say for the co-star, we get between 3 to 7,000 submissions for one part, right? To say a couple lines. So the chances are very small, right? Like statistically speaking, if I have a degree in accounting, so I always like to analyze, like what are the chances, like, mathematically talking about this thing. So there are no formulas, but like, you know what I mean? So if it's 7,000, what are the chances that it's you? 0.00001, something like that, right? So when you look at that, you just can't drive yourself insane thinking about oh, I didn't get that, or I didn't get that, or I wish they would have called me back, or whatever. You just focusing on other things that matter as well. And still, with that in mind, you always get this one audition which you absolutely felt like crashed, and you really want to be a part of that project. We're all humans, right? So sometimes it's hard to let go. Harder in certain situations. So then, yeah, my mind sometimes is like, oh, maybe they'll, maybe they'll still call, But overall, I try to just let it go. The minute I did it, it's done, it's out of my hands, and then I just move on with my life. I do something else,
During this whole downtime, like between auditions, how you stay creative during those times.
So I did started producing like 5 years ago, I think, when the technologies got better and you could just do a lot of different things. I mean, like, look at the vertical form right now, right? All the different TikTok videos and stuff, people are podcasts, YouTube channels, all the stuff that you can do, to stay creative. So I did some web series, I'm actually going to be directing the second episode for BB Bounty Hunters Incorporation. So that's like all kick-ass women, just going out there, solving crimes and all that stuff. So that spoke to me when I read it. And so I'm going to be directing that one, which I'm very excited. So I'm not necessarily always feeling like I need to be acting in everything I'm doing. Sometimes it's fun to be behind the camera, actually. So I started to enjoy that more and more because it's just fun. It frees you up creatively so much too. So yeah, just working on my projects, on other people projects, be it a producer, be it a director, different things besides just acting. It also, I think, adds on to you as an actor, right? Because now you can actually see what goes into the whole project and what it takes to make it happen. So you even kind of appreciate things more because you see how hard it is to put the puzzle together, right? So, and sometimes I like it more because you have more freedom now when it's your project. I can say what I want to say, right? I can do what I want to do. I can act how I want to act. So so I started to really work on a bunch of different projects with different people, just get creative, keep the creative juices going. Sometimes it involves writing, although I prefer producing. I'm dabbling into directing a little bit more right now. That kind of piques my interest too. But really anything, and even editing sometimes. Ooh, that's fun, try to edit something. And then you realize how much goes into that. And I'm sure you do know because you probably edit your own videos, right? So yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours, but then you get better at it and it's kind of fun. Piggyback on that, it's like I get bored if it's the same kind of stuff. So I always get excited and interested when it's like something new to learn and pivot and do better and all that stuff. It's just you grow as a creative person. You never stay the same, right? So to me, it's like challenges. I love that. I welcome that. I want to know more. So that's why I'm like, for this episode that I'm going to be filming, I said, I want to edit it. And, my co-producer looked at me and he's like, well, we have an editor. I said, I know we do, but I want to edit it. I want to sit down and look through the entire thing and whatever it is. And you know what? If it's bad, he's going to re-edit it. What can I say? But I just want to learn that, I want to have fun with that. He's like, okay, whatever. My mom used to say, you either go up or go down. You never stay on the same level. So it's like you either get better or you don't. And that's how it feels sometimes. So you kind of just, climbing that next ladder. And that's what gets me excited. That's what gets me out of the bed every day.
Totally. And tell me, focus, when you are stepping into a new character, tell me, is it more like putting a mask or somehow peeling back layers of yourself?
I'm pretty sure everybody has their own like technique or techniques that they're using or incorporating. I can't exactly narrow it down to one thing, and it really depends on the character. But I think for me, the more I kind of really, by looking at it right now, I feel like for me, it's, at least currently, it's more of bringing what you got and illuminating the gap between you and the character, if that makes sense. So I always do the inventory of like, okay, Iris, what Iris has, like, what are my qualities? And now this character, right? What do they have? What are their qualities? And usually, right, it's not like they wrote it exactly for Iris. So now I need to identify those gaps between us, right, and try to merge it somehow, right? So let's say I am very honest person. I say as is. I'm very direct, and the character is shady, right, and usually, hiding some like secrets, whatever that is. So that is the quality that I don't have, right? Now I need to work at it. Now I need to find it. Now I need to bring it to that character. So, but then there might be some qualities sometimes that the character has, and so do I. And so that way it just kind of really, I guess, comparing yourself, because I don't believe that you kind of have to leave yourself and you create this brand new character. I do believe you bring yourself to it, but then you add the character on the top. Because every time you look at, let's say, one of my favorites is Meryl Streep. Let's take her. I mean, you can always see Meryl in every character she does, but then you also see that character, right? And it's crazy how she changes. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. Yeah, and sometimes it's a little harder because there's certain qualities or certain things that I think it's important to not judge your character, Like there's some qualities where Iris would be like, oh no, that's not right. That just goes against my, beliefs. I wouldn't do that. So that's where I have to like, okay, just drop that. Let's don't judge this person, whoever they are. Let's just try to understand them. And let's try to see what are the qualities I need to portray in this character, right? So, and then I kind of go from there. That's more of the approach I'm taking lately. Although I'm sure it's not something made up. Probably somebody already wrote a book on it. I just don't know who that would be. But yeah, so I always I feel like if you watch some of my characters, you'll still see Iris here and there somewhere in it. But then the qualities of the character have to be there, like that's how I build them.
During the whole process of creating and at the same time presenting the character, how do you protect like your own emotions when you're kind of constantly digging into someone else's pain or trauma, let's say?
One of my coaches, Sue Gioso, she is lovely, and I'm so blessed to get to meet her. Up until then, I wasn't sure exactly how to, but there is a technique to it. And I think it comes with understanding of your traumas, because we all have some, probably bad things happen to us, bad stories, bad memories. Some of us worse than the others. But I mean, let's just say some traumas, right? They might be from childhood, maybe, teenage years, or even when an adult. So how not to really stay in it, but tap in and tap out. I think it does require a lot of work and reconciliation. So you have to acknowledge that it happened to you, but you also have to remind yourself that it was in the past. It doesn't identify you, you know what I mean? And so when you go into those emotions, because what I love about acting, I think, is specificity. Sometimes you watch a moment. And I remember, I think it was Mystic River, where Sean Penn, and he lost his daughter, and he was so devastated. And I don't know what he was using for that moment, but whatever it was specific to him, very specific, right? It was some memory, something that happened, and you could feel his, like, even talking about it right now, I'm getting goosebumps. You can feel his devastation and his loss, right? But as an actors, we should be able to, good actors, really great actors, should be able to tap into those emotions, right? Because that's what interesting to watch. Nobody wants to watch just like nice people being nice, right, on the screen. So it's conflicts, it's always drama, it's something happening. The more the worse the better, sort of thing. But how to not stay there is a lot of mental work and a lot of like understanding of like, that thing happened to me. I did not cause it, and it's not what identifies me right now. I think it's just separating that, really. And it's not easy and it's a lot of work. But once you reconcile, and there are a lot of like a set of exercises that you can do, like, when you tap in and you tap out kind of thing. And it takes time and practice, really. But the more you do it, the more it kind of becomes obvious that you don't need to stay in that, that's in the past. That's just something you're using right now in the moment. And also an interesting thing is because I remember the Groundhog Day is also one of my favorite movies, and I remember when I saw it the first time and I thought, oh my God, that's like so, like, they both are really good. The couple is really good there, but he was so like in it and so kind of, I don't know, it was like a raw emotion there. And I think the actor was actually going through divorce at that time, right? So how, like, things can happen. I might be on set and then I lost my cat, or I don't know, things like that. So when that happens, it's like, how can you like still stay present? So you can't ignore that it happened to you, right? Because it happened. So you have to know how to channel it, like work on it so that it's still going to come in, but it's not going to destroy what you worked on. It's not going to throw you off. Again, we all humans, we have emotions. Things happen to us, right? We can't ignore it. So I think it does require a lot of work and understanding that those things are happening, but it's not your fault, and you can apply them in your craft, but you don't have to sit in it.
The acting world can sometimes be a roller coaster, right? So how do you stay grounded when everything feels chaotic, basically?
So I usually, listen, it could be anything, and for everybody it's different, absolutely. For me, it's just like I need to get out of LA. When I feel like, okay, it's a little too much, I'm getting burned out, there's this feelings coming in, I'm not, feeling satisfied with what's going on, and some things you cannot control. So for me, it's like really I call up my friends. So my girlfriends, I usually have a few that I go with because they're really good travel buddies. They like so uplifting, and they're not in acting industry, which also helps sometimes. You know what I mean? So you can talk about other stuff with them. But I'm like, hey guys, shall we go somewhere soonish? And so we usually plan a trip, and we just go somewhere and just forget about all this stuff. Like even be it a week or two, 10 days, whatever that is. That what gets me kind of going. But I guess not as much traveling, yes, absolutely, but it's the company. It's just I love them dearly, and they always such a good support. You got to surround yourself with your own fans, and I don't mean it in a bad way, because sometimes it can sound like that. I mean by people who uplift you, by people who believe in you, by people who want to see good in you, by people who are on your side. So, and that helps a lot, that energy and conversations that we have. And sometimes it's just good to do something else and not be talking about acting all the time, although I love that now. And I can talk and talk and talk about it. But it's like, they have different lives, different jobs and things, and it gets me excited because I'm like, well, tell me more. I want to know all about, website building or whatever that is. So yeah, I think it's diversifying it and doing something different for me for a change. So then I come back and I'm like, oh, I missed it. I really missed it. That's how you know that you do what you love and you love what you do.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm still discovering why you're badass, so I like it. I'm seeing now why you're badass. I'm like, I see it now. I see it. I'm
There's
getting it.
times.
I'm getting it. When people watch your work years from now, what's the one thing you hope they feel or remember you about?
I gotta say, the questions you ask are so good and freaking deep. Like, thank you so much. Because it's like, every time it's like, okay, let me really think about it. Because this is things like that I don't even know the answer to. But I might say right now in the moment, I feel like if you feel the emotions of the character that I'm portraying, and it somehow grabs you, and it somehow makes you feel something, whatever that is, it might not change your life or lives of others, but if it makes you think for a second, right? Like what's going on, and I'm invested in this story, like what's happening, like, then I did my job. That's really the simple answer to it. So I never felt like, I want to be famous or all the other jazz that comes with it. I'm sure it's great. It's cherry on top when it comes. But I think for me, it's like, when I do my job, I want to be as good as possible, right? So if you going on a journey with me and you follow the story and you follow the character, you might like the character, dislike the character, any feelings that you have against the character, or for the character, I should say, then that just tells me that I did my job. Because the worst thing is that you don't feel anything. And so you kind of like, eh. So that's why for me, it's always comes down to like, it's not about me. It's about this person that I'm portraying right now. And I'm going to do my best to give this person justice, and they might be a villain and they might be a nicest person on the planet, however they're written, it's human being, right? So, and then I want you to take a journey with me and follow this story. So, and at the end of the day, I think that's the best, I think, praise for the actor is it's like, ooh, I believe you in there, like, because I remember I was on set of a film where I played a mom, a single mom, and the kid was kind of out of control, I was trying to connect with my son, but it just wasn't happening. So, and there is a very vulnerable scene in there where we kind of somehow I tried to connect and the connection somehow happens and it's beautiful, I never had kids, so I don't know what it's like to have a son, but I was very specific in my choices. So it worked. And then I remember between the takes, the director came to me and he said, like, this is so real. And I think that's one of the best thing you can hear. Like that's it. Say no more, right? So at the end of the day, we come into this world. It's gonna sound really sad right now, and we die, right? But I don't think about it like living the legacy or anything. I just feel about it right now. Let me eat my slice of pizza, and my slice of pizza is so. Here is what what the character is. Here is who I'm playing right now and I'm going to give it my best shot at the moment. And then I hope that the story will evoke some emotions from the audience. And so if it does, then I did my job.
I love
That's
it. There you go. And what's the word or perhaps a phrase that will sum up your journey so far? Like at this point, like how would you call it, let's say?
I think that fear is a propeller to the greatness, you know.
Okay, and check this out. What word would you choose for the next chapter?
Take risks.
Fair
What do you
enough.
lose, right? I mean, I feel like, and I'm mostly talking to myself, but I'm sure it will resonate with some people too. It's like we always afraid of some things, right? Like we pretty much live in a constant fear, especially lately. And understandable, yes. A lot of unpredictable things. We want to know what's going to happen. We don't know. So that sucks. But at the end of the day, I mean, what's the worst can happen if I take a risk, right? If I do something other than I don't do anything or do nothing. Like, so that's where my mind goes. And trust me, I fear of a lot of things. But I think taking risks and remembering that, you know what, that decision might be the best decision of your life. You just don't know yet, right? Because you're still in that state of fear and not doing something, So, and then I tell to myself, all right, if you do something, whatever that is, what's the worst that can happen? And usually the worst that can happen is not that bad. So then you ask yourself, why am I so fearful? What stops me, from doing certain things? Now, I'm not, you know, um, telling, or inciting people to kill somebody or do some awful stuff. We're talking like, small things. Like, I'm afraid of heights, right? Let's take that example. And I'm each year I say, like, I'm gonna jump up, with the parachute. I have an instructor, it's all good. I'm not by myself there, like, just do it. And each year I procrastinate. So hopefully this year will be this year where I take risks. You know what I mean? Because what's the worst? Well, things can happen. But what's the worst that can happen? I think I'm going to have a great experience. And then I'll be like, it's not only not scary, it's beautiful. Like when you see the earth from up, up there. That's just, yeah. So take risks. Life is short. Just do it. That's what it is.
Then you
So
go. And my last question, so we can all enjoy and relax after an epic chat here. So here it is. What do you think that could be the best title for this episode?
I think since we were talking a lot about, fatalistic part of life, and not to make it dark or anything, but on the positive note, I think don't be afraid to take risks, or take risks in life. Take risks because life is too short. Something along those lines, because at the end of the day, I think that's, for me personal, that's what it is about. In the moment right now, and who knows what's going to happen later. So yeah, risks are good. I don't know why risks have this like bad connotation. Risks are good. Risks are great. I mean, anything, if you look, at any successful person or a person that achieved something that we as humanity can appreciate, right? They took ginormous risks. They didn't know. And I'm sure a lot of people told them, oh, that's stupid. Oh, don't do that. Oh, that's just an awful idea, or whatever that is, right? But it didn't stop them. They did it anyway. And it's not always works out that way, but you got to take those big, gigantic risks. Otherwise, you just live and live and live.
Fair
And then
enough.
we'll all know what happens after that. We already discussed that.
Totally. All right. So we'll take it as take risk is life.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that speaks to me, because I always like to have like that call to action. Like, what can we do, to
Fair
propel
enough.
to the next level? Yeah,
Okay,
that's
I'll take it. Sounds like a franchise to me. Sounds like like the beginning of an epic trilogy we might see. Who
really,
knows, right?
that's right. You never know.
And at the end, what can I say? The fact that you are doing what makes you happy, that you are passionate about it. I mean, that is super cool. That takes guts for sure. But what I love the most about your career is the fact that you're doing it because you love it. And also you're showing out there. I think that the most beautiful part of this is that you're showing out there that it doesn't matter where you're from, your culture, language, whatever. I mean, at the end of you are willing enough to take the risk and also to put your heart to it and get the work done, you're gonna make it, you're actually gonna make it. And I think that is a super powerful message, especially now in this crazy day and era that we currently live with too much hate and everything. The
Yeah.
fact that we can rely on someone so badass as you, I think that is super cool to make us realize that dreams are possible. And that's epic.
Thanks so much. That's just, such a pleasure to be, talking to you. And yes, I think we need more people that are filled with positive energy, love, and understanding of cultural differences and just different backgrounds, and being accepting, that's what it is. Because we're all different. That's just how world was created. So, and it's not better or worse, it's just we're different, but it doesn't make me better or make you better. It just, we're different, and that's it. Like,
Totally.
some people like cats, some people like dogs, you know what I mean? They are different. So, but yeah, we need a lot of badasses, and we need a lot of people to really being strong in their messages. And I feel like sometimes, that bystander kind of syndrome, we have a lot of that because we feel so powerless sometimes. Oh, well, if I say something, it's not going to change anything. Or if I do something, it's not, like we all have those voices, I feel like. But it's then a lot of us just do that by standing. And so then the ones that are loud and, have their point of views, they're at the top. So we need to change certain ratios, I'd say, if you know what I mean, because we need to have some good people out there, in the leadership positions, and we just gonna get stronger from there. But I feel like more and more people are speaking out right now. More people feel like they have voices, and feel more accepted, and that's good to see. And the badassiness, I think, comes from having your point of view and not being afraid to say it, out loud and proud. And hopefully more people gonna join in. So that's a little change you can make. Right, one podcast at a time.
There you go. So I want to thank you so much for making this happen, but I also want to thank those who stayed the whole episode. Let us know what you think in the comments below, but also, because by this point you know why Iris is super badass, let's follow her, let's share some love, hashtag Team Iris. And again, Iris, thank you for making this happen. Keep shining out there, keep rocking, keep kicking ass, keep doing what you do, because as I said, I do appreciate what you do, and it's for people like you in this world who, besides giving us epic content, they're also sharing a positive message and a positive impact in this crazy world we live in. So
thank you, Dan. Thank you so much. Likewise, I think you're amazing, everything you're doing. Thank you for this podcast.